So needless to say, night one of WrestleMania wasn't exactly a rousing hit in my opinion. It ended nicely, had a couple of nice things in the middle, but overall really left me wanting more, right? It didn't feel like WrestleMania for those that are of the like boomer opinion, maybe of me, of like, let's make this shit tighter, 1 4-hour show instead of a 2 night weekend thing. Pretty good argument based off of watching night one. Uh, and admittedly, I didn't have a ton of confidence that night two was going to be a whole lot better. But, you know, night two was a lot different in many ways until maybe you get to the main event. We'll talk plenty about that, right? Um, but certainly in terms of the matches overall, the flow of things, night two was infinitely better. You had the triple threat match for the Women's World Championship, and Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, especially Bianca and Rhea, like they worked circles around what Tiffany and Charlotte's overrated, overpushed, overforced ass did the night before. Like I can't even imagine, how you could think that Stratton and Flair should be semi-main event of night one, and yet this ladies match, which you just had to know was infinitely going to be better because it didn't involve fucking Charlotte Flair. It involved vastly superior talents like Bianca and Rhea and Io Sky. How this one opens night two and gets less time than what we knew was going to be the shit show with Charlotte Flair in night one. Um, but yeah, like outstanding opener. Get everything you want to get out of it. It's interesting, right, that the crowd in Vegas booing Bianca. It's because they know who is really behind attacking Jade, but a lot of folks with opinions on that. Yeah, it's just a reality of if your character doesn't evolve and it doesn't change, like it only takes a little bit of a spark sometimes and the fans will turn on you. She's not the first one. It's certainly not the last one. And, for all the different things we talk about, it just comes down to that. It's not one of these, oh, it's because she's this or it's because she looks like that. There are enough other problems in wrestling that involve stuff like that. This is not one of them. Just her character's gotten stale. It happens. Get over it. Big fucking deal. And if anything, WWE should embrace the opportunity to do something different with her character, spice it up, freshen it up, and make more money with her. It'd just be my fault. The Sin City Street fight between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, I tweeted this during Night 2 of Mania, but I've really come over the past couple of years to really respect Drew McIntyre because he has this great skill of making me think that everything he's involved with has some form of reality to it. I can suspend my disbelief. I can buy the shit. He feels legit. He works legit. He is legit. And Damian Priest is a solid hand too. And this street fight I thought was really, really good. So like 2 for 2 in terms of the opening of the show being great stuff. And it continued in a match that frankly I thought should have gotten a little more time. That's the 4-way for the Intercontinental Championship. Now I was assuming the way this was being positioned is that Braun was going to lose his title here and he wasn't going to be involved in the decision and it might go to Dominic. And all of that happened and it was magnificent. The way this was booked and presented where Braun got in all of his impressive shit. Like he is an athletic freak. He's got the power of a super heavyweight. He's got the speed and explosive quickness of a cruiserweight. Just incredible stuff, man. But what was even more incredible is how over Dominic was with this crowd and as a babyface. And when he won, the crowd erupted, doing his daddy Eddie Guerrero proud. Woo! Latino heat. This was, again, really, really good. And what a moment for the work that Dirty Dom's put in over the past couple of years. He got his WrestleMania moment here. Like a lot of people would kill to have that as a highlight in their career, needless to say. So 3 for 3, right? And then the hits kept coming. Randy Orton's going to issue an open challenge, and I'm like, oh, it's Breakfast Club business time, baby. Say his name. I believe in Joe Hendry. And he showed up. It was awesome. It was short. I'm assuming they were backstage and, in the build-up to this, they're like, well, we got to figure this out, Randy. We've got an idea. How about you give the TNA World Champion 10 to 12 really good minutes and you win a close competitive match? And, Orton probably said, that doesn't work for me, brother. How about an RKO and a 1, 2, 3 and let's get out of Dodge? And this worked! Like Joe Hendry getting that huge reaction. He got in some shit. Orton wins. Outstanding. Like, granted, this is not the match I wanted for Randy Orton at WrestleMania. We all know that, but you gotta get over it and make do. Now, for those that were saying that it was stupid for Joe Hendry and he buried Joe Hendry, it's just idiotic. All right? He's the TNA World Champion who gets to appear on by far the biggest wrestling event of the year. Bar none, period, no argument. The most watched single wrestling event of the year. Has a stadium of 50 plus thousand people screaming for him when he makes an appearance. And he gets to work with a first ballot Hall of Fame type of legend like Randy Orton. Like, if that is being buried, then every male wrestler alive, sans a couple, would want to be buried like that. Give me a fucking break. The fact that Joe Hendry was legitimate enough to be viewed as a legit contender to face Randy Orton in his open challenge just further elevates the profile here. Absolutely nothing wrong with this. This is done exactly how the fuck it should be done. And you even probably got something that's going to become a great meme or gif in the future, right? Of Joe Hendry turning around, looking, and then here comes Randy Orton doing the RKO on him out of nowhere. Like, it was fantastic. So 4 for 4 to start this show. And it continued, frankly, for me with Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. I thought this was another good, solid match. And, at times it gets a little sloppy with Logan Paul, but then he kind of compensates for it a little bit with some of the incredible shit he can do. Karrion Kross gets kind of involved. AJ doesn't want the help, and Logan Paul takes advantage and gets the win. Like, at this point in time, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, by God, like, why couldn't this just be the only night of WrestleMania I'd actually feel pretty good about things? You could have maybe taken Jay versus Naomi from night one, Fatu versus LA Knight from night one, the triple threat main event from night one, and you put it in here to what you have for night two so far, and it's just shaping up to really be a really damn good WrestleMania. But it's not like that, right? And unfortunately, this show wasn't finished. Because it certainly felt like that was it after it, and it went downhill. You had the tag team match for the Women's Tag Championship, and everybody, I think, knew that Bayley was wrestling, and it was going to be Becky Lynch's big return. And I'm always fascinated with Becky Lynch is that I'm not trying to totally discredit her or say that she's not a star at all, but I do feel like there is a disconnect between how big of a star WWE thinks she is and how big of a star, frankly, maybe Becky thinks she is, and then the reality of how big of a star Becky is. Now, she's been gone for quite a while, and she makes her return here, and she got a reaction, but it was nowhere near the loudest reaction you heard this week. And you know what I mean? Like, it was not that type of gravitas, not that type of moment. And, if you're going to do this, you could just save this for the night after Mania, frankly, and let Bayley work this match. Yeah, I wasn't a fan here, and it wasn't a very good match either. Becky winning, like, the crowd was kind of okay, but they weren't over the moon. You know what I mean? But at this point, let's be honest. Like, a lot of people are saying, well, Bayley kind of got screwed here, and she certainly did. But we were really pointing to the main event. And no surprise to me whatsoever, the Vegas crowd had some very clear allegiances, and they certainly weren't with Cody Rhodes. If you couldn't see that coming heading into this show, then what planet are you living on? John Cena's just made this big character turn. It's his last run, if you will, in WWE. He's going to be in the main event, facing off against an imitator for the title. Would you rather cheer for the imitator or the originator? You know what I mean? And frankly, when we think about the whole Cody Rhodes thing, it's like, it's to finish the story. Well, he finished the story a year ago. His story was played out at this point. There was nothing more you could do with it. So, again, not a surprise that the Vegas crowd would be incredibly behind John Cena. They had greater loyalty to him. They viewed him as a more interesting character. All of that out of the way, let's talk about what happened here. Because I'll confess, like, as the match started and was going along, I know a lot of people that have gotten very spoiled on the fast-paced, like moves that don't mean shit in the no-selling and everything else. Actually appreciated the attempt by Cena to work a different style match. Slower, more methodical, more physical. Like, this worked for him, and this worked for the so-called different character here. But then, like, the match never really picked up any steam, and then Travis Scott comes out, and you're like, okay, that at least makes some logical sense, because he was involved at Elimination Chamber. He messed up Cody a little bit with his slap of justice, if you will. Okay, so it makes sense that he's going to be involved, but admittedly, the whole time you're sitting there thinking to yourself, and this is back on Sunday night, mind you, right? It was like, well, The Rock's got to appear, right? The Rock was the catalyst for this whole character turn by John Cena. Why in the fuck wouldn't he show up? He has to show up here. He has all the story and history with his character and Cody Rhodes. Like, it's one of those, it's so fucking obvious and logical, you absolutely got to do it, and then they didn't do it. This is like letting Steve Austin get all the beer and then let him drive around in a four-wheeler around the ring and expecting that to turn out just fine. And to that heifer, whoever was sitting ringside, when he ran into the barricade and she's like, ugh, and acting like a fucking Karen. Who cares if it spilled the drinks? Like, you're going to go down to WrestleMania history and you're going to go down to WrestleMania history as a grouchy bitch? Fuck off. Just fuck off. Hate fucking people, man. Swear to God. Also kind of a dumb usage of Austin, right? Like, he couldn't fucking show up last year when you were doing that whole Avengers Endgame kind of angle with Cody and Roman. Now, Taker certainly made sense as, like, the one to take out the final boss, but, you know, Austin couldn't show up last year, but he could show up this time to announce the fibbed lying-ass attendance figures. Like, the seating configuration there for the event was a little over 50,000, but yet you're talking about 62, 63,000. Like, come the fuck on. Like, seriously, why does WWE have to lie about this shit? And I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but fuck all Christ. Are people really going to shit talk you if you said both nights that you had 54,000 people in attendance? No, the fuck they're not. Like, it's a BFD. Ain't nobody going to fucking care. But to sit there and feel like you have to lie so you count every single person in the building, whether they actually paid for the show or even were a comp or not, you're counting support people, all of that shit. Like, give me a fucking break. Stop lying about the goddamn audience, for Christ's sakes. Vince is gone. Leave that in the Vince era, would you mind? Anyways, back to the main event. For anybody that criticizes The Rock not showing up and thinking that was stupid and thinking that that's an incredibly dumb decision, they have every right to do so because it fucking is. Because it fucking is. And I'm not even going to talk about what Dwayne said the other day, because I know I'm recording this Night 2 review a couple of days later, and you've seen other stuff. I'm trying to focus just based off of where I was at Sunday night after watching this show, mind you. I will do other videos in the next week or two to follow up on some of the things that have happened since, but like, for him not to fucking show up. I think I did a video a while back talking about Dwayne either needs to be in or he needs to get the fuck out, one of the two. Now you just set a reasonable expectation in the fans' minds that, hey, you were involved in one of the biggest character turns of all fucking time. You might think he shows up to WrestleMania. To now where you sit there, he doesn't show up, and you're like, well, what the fuck was the point of that? Why couldn't Cena just turn heel on his own or turn bad? And I'll admit, like, totally, the finish was a little flat. When I see people talking about it's one of the worst Mania main events of all time, there are several that are much worse than this one. Come on, folks. It might not have been great, but it wasn't terrible. But yeah, something fell flat, and something was certainly missing here. But at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter, because it's not about you people. It's about me. And the Breakfast Club running stronger than ever in 2025. Triple H getting multiple appearances in night one. Glorious. Randy Orton getting to bury a young talent in 3 minutes. He didn't bury him, but he did Breakfast Club business. And then John Cena making sure he got booked into the main event of WrestleMania and taking home his 17th title is fucking glorious, damn it. But yeah, like, night 2, I thought overall was better than night 1. The difference, though, is that the finish of night 1 was incredible and worked on so many different levels. The finish on night 2 was flat, disappointing, and left you wondering, like, well, what was the fucking point of any of this? And it's a fair point. And I think as I was watching this, it just continued to strike me like, this is corporate WWE, even more than it ever has been. This is WWE TKO WWE, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And like, just the viewing experience was not great this past weekend. Because that night 2 is better, but if I combine the two and like talk about how does this weekend rank, it's not very high on the list, admittedly. Like, a lot of bad mixed in. And then when you add in the Peacock viewing experience, like, frankly, it sucked. I wouldn't put this in the bottom 5 WrestleManias of all time, but if somebody wanted to make an argument for bottom 10, I certainly would consider it. We've seen WWE do a lot better. You can't just sit there, and they're going to. They're going to say with the astronomical ticket prices they charge and having 50,000+ people show up each night, that's an indication of how great the show is. But eventually that shit doesn't work. And at some point in time, you're going to lose fans and they're going to start tuning out if you don't give them more reasons to be interested than what they got this past weekend.